My friend, you need to check out this mod, because it's doing something I never thought possible in a Total War game, especially a game so many people stopped playing after launch or never bothered picking up at all. Rome Remastered has been a divisive topic in the Total War community to say the least, but last week the game got its supposedly last major patch, which included a host of updates and changes, many of which pertained to modding capabilities. This is also how many of the game's major mods have received a host of new features, and right now, we're taking a look at the mod Total Conquest, which I believe is going to blow your mind as much as it did mine. And if that sounds good to you, I hope you'll consider supporting me on Patreon, which would go a long way in helping me produce more videos just like this one and others. Total Conquest is a complete overhaul mod for Rome Remastered, and it's been out since day 2, back then offering the addition of 20 new cities. But now, Total Conquest does something we've only really seen happen in the later games. We now have a mod which adds player-based scripts to the game, meaning that every campaign you play allows you to make important decisions or unique events. If you're not really understanding how important this is just yet, then look right here. When beginning the game as Rome, your situation is as follows. The Etruscans to the north are your allies, but in the south, the situation is much more complicated. You're fighting both Epirus led by Pyrrhus himself and the Greek faction Callipolis. In addition, your one city on Sicily is okay for now, but will soon be in jeopardy to the heavy Carthaginian presence on the island. However, this is the real deal. When you begin the campaign as Rome, you get an opening message giving you a short description of your current situation. Most importantly, however, is this little tidbit right here. Should you destroy Pyrrhus, your next task will be to conquer Magna Graecia, along with Sicily. This should be enough to secure loyalty of our northern protectorate, the Etruscan League. And you know what this means, right? This means that Total Conquest, as one of the few and only mods for Rome, indeed any Total War game, has implemented events which are directly affected by what the player achieves. And it works. When I had finally defeated the Greeks, winning hard-won battle after hard-won battle, finally securing a peace treaty with the remaining people now on the Greek side of the Adriatic, and had taken the battle to the Carthaginians and conquered Sicily, I got another message. And if I wanted to, I could pay 20,000 denarii to essentially annex the Etruscans. The feature works like a charm. What's more is that conquering all of southern Italy triggers a military reform, meaning that you no longer have to recruit early types of Hastati and Triari, but can now finally use Principes and regular Hastati, which actually use Pilas, thank God. It took me about 40 turns to get to this point, and it has been the single most awesome Rome Remastered experience I've ever had, not to mention one of my coolest Rome experiences ever in modern times. But it doesn't stop there. Events happen semi-regularly as well, giving Rome events and decisions related to the Senate. Even though Rome remains one state, the modders have cleverly retained a three-house political situation, and each general in your state is loyal to one of them. If one of these houses reaches a high enough power rating in the Senate, and Rome itself has enough provinces and the right conditions are met, a civil war will break out, now in a more organic way than before. You can always influence this through events or with your characters, and you see, every time a character wins or loses a battle, takes a city, is a faction leader, or spends time in the capital, points are allocated to the specific house Senate pool in the background, meaning that it's no longer only completing Senate missions that will aid or hamper your Senate ambitions, but nearly every action done with a character you make. If there's one or two things I wish were improved upon here, it's first that the cost of the Senate events were scaled with the player's earnings at the time or something similar, as paying a flat 20,000 denarii price of a Senate seat here and there is simply impossible in the early to mid-game. Second, I wish this entire system was explained better with tooltips. Right now, the only way to truly find out is through an online Google Doc, so a bit more transparency in-game would go a long way to simplify these systems. The entire flow of the campaign is changed not only due to slightly higher building times and cost and a slight perceived reduction in unit movement speed, but because of the implementation of mechanics related to conquest and administration. Each province must now be cored to become truly integrated into your empire, and each newly conquered city will have buildings acting as modifiers, which decreases public order and income during the occupation period. One can even mitigate these effects by enacting edicts through other buildings, such as harsh treatment and civilization efforts, which is intended to make the occupation period tailored to how you want it to be. In addition, I found that the AI worked really well with these changes. Epirus even came to me to offer a ceasefire when I had pushed them out of Italy, And you know what? I accepted, seeing as I had my sights on Sicily anyway and lacked manpower to fight another two-front war. As of right now, only a few days after Total Conquest 2.0 launched, you and I can both see how much has changed and improved here. But seeing as we're still in early days after the massive patch for the main game launched, Rome is currently the only faction that has been given this range of major overhauls. However, the second coolest faction to explore is probably the Seleucids, which now has a game mechanic which makes this empire so much more interesting to play. The Seleucid Empire was a massive, multicultural and far-reaching realm, which eventually crumbled partially due to these facts. The Seleucids then offer us a mechanic related to this issue called inefficient bureaucracy. This makes it harder for the Seleucid Empire to reach higher levels of growth, trade, and tax levels, which seriously hampers the empire's economy. This mechanic goes for the entire empire, which stretches from the nearest east in Anatolia to the farthest east in Afghanistan. Even though the mechanic improves public order, you'll have a hard time keeping the far borders of your empire intact, as riots and discontent will see you lowering taxes further or spending hard-earned cash on garrisons for cities you might lose anyway. But not to fear, you can be proactive in the long run, and I mean the long run. The Seleucid Empire can enact bureaucratic reform laws, which can take a long time to write, but which in the end is needed to bring your realm up to speed. There are 2 of these, and they both take 16 turns to complete, which means you'll have to prioritize the recruiting of units, raising of buildings, and the need for bureaucratic reforms. Even though Rome and the Seleucids are the most fleshed out factions as of right now, Total Conquest offers a lot more. There are more factions than ever here, evident in the fact that we have 3 different Carthaginian house factions, several new Greek factions like Epirus, Gallipolis, Sparta, and Athens in addition to the Greek cities, and we even have a Ptolemaic Egypt alongside the Egypt of old, which is sure to create a much more interesting campaign in that region. We of course also have a variety of new units ported from Rome 1. I think this is a great addition, but I think it can also look kind of jarring seeing them next to the much more modern remastered units. Don't get me wrong, I love the addition, but I wish they could be updated to look as 3D and shiny as the remastered models, and maybe one day they will. The battles themselves are fantastic, and you'll honestly have a hard time defeating Furious and his phalanxes if you're not clever or use the right tactics, especially on higher difficulties. Going back to Rome is a treat, especially when units actually physically drag those battering rams onto the enemy gates. It's a treat to watch every time. And that was a short taste of Total Conquest 2.0 for Total War Rome Remastered. Now I just want to add that, in my review of this game, I mostly praised it for being everything it was, even though, like most out there, I had issues with the UI. But in the weeks and months ahead, Remastered just seemed kind of outdated when the fun of the new graphics kind of waned away, and I had a hard time coming back when other Total Wars were so much more fun to play. But now, with Total Conquest, I can honestly say that I'm having an amazing time with the game again, and I think it all comes down to the new events and mechanics, coupled with the added factions and tweaks here and there. Personally, I don't think Rome has ever been better, and with the dedication of the mod team, it will continue to improve over time, adding new tooltips, faction mechanics, units, and other quality of life improvements. Oh, and another really awesome thing. Total Conquest is set to add actual naval trade nodes like those we see in Empire and Napoleon. I'm extremely excited about the future of Total Conquest and commend the mod team for bringing a new breath of life and magic to this old gem. I highly recommend checking out Total Conquest on the Steam Workshop. It's almost guaranteed to make you want to play Rome Remastered again. Thank you so much for watching. Have you considered returning to Rome Remastered after the latest patch and the mods that were updated with it? Whatever the case, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, I hope you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!